This is the chart of a person who joined a spiritual community in their 20s in Venus Dasha. In the D1, we can see how this person leaves behind the conventional path and joins a spiritual community. Venus is the 12th lord of ashrams and spiritual withdrawal, and is exalted in Pisces, conjunct the 11th cusp, which is associated with community spirit. And so this person, in the beginning of their Venus Dasha, accepted the lifestyle of a renunciate and lived with spiritually minded people together in a community. They lived with spiritual devotion and had a deep desire to belong to an uplifting spiritual community. But how deeply were they convinced that this path was right for them? And for that, we look at the D45. Well, we can see that Venus doesn't look good at all. It is conjunct the 6th cusp of service and the 12th cusp of spiritual community life, but it is also in the inauspicious 6th house, as counted from the Lagna, and it is afflicted by Rahu and Mars. And this creates confusion, anger, and the desire to experience something different, to experience something more. And so when they joined the ashram, they thought it was the right choice, and they were convinced about it. But internally, that conviction just never really went deep enough. And in the years that followed, they could never really develop that full conviction that this is why I was born and I'm going to be a renunciate until the end of my life. Venus also doesn't rule any of the important 9th house factors, which are the 9th house and the 5th house, the Sun, the 9th and 5th from the Sun. If anything, Venus is going to be harmful to the 9th house factors by being in the 9th from the Sun and afflicted. And so Venus Dasha wasn't able to anchor this person in their personal dharma and deeper purpose. They stepped into this path that looked right, that offered peace and structure, but inside it didn't feel completely right. And that's what the D45 reveals. Not what we are doing, but whether it truly fits who we are. And so during Venus Dasha, this person lived in the ashram, but never fully settled internally. There was service, there was community, spiritual discipline, but then they also felt this restlessness, frustration, and doubt about whether this is really the right thing for them. And so here the combination of Venus, Mars, and Rahu gave them this inner resistance to the very life they were trying to embrace. And so this is really a perfect example of how the D1 shows what we do, but then the D45, whether we are one with what we do. And in this case, the answer was not yet. When Sun Dasha finally started, they were ready to step into the spotlight of their destiny. We can see in the D1 that the Sun is in the 11th and 12th house and exalted, manifested by both Mercury and Jupiter and also conjunct Rahu. And this really indicates someone who is highly ambitious, full of energy and devotional enthusiasm. And from the outside, it seemed that they are really on fire. They were leading, speaking, building connections, and achieving a lot in what they were doing. But let's go a little bit deeper and find out if their ambitions were truly rooted in their dharma. For that, let's go over to the D45. And the sun is also exalted here. And that tells us that this person is authentic in who they are. They are brimming with a deeper sense of purpose and their conviction that they came into this world to make a difference in their life and the lives of those they impact. Now the sun also gets manifested by Jupiter, but then also hurt here by Saturn. And so overall, this person in Sandasha is really coming to life and beginning to feel they are truly on their path. Right? Their career in the ashram took off. They were asked to give lectures, travel to different temples, and gain a devoted following. People were moved by their words. They carried a presence that felt both spiritual and charismatic. And so Sandasha really helped them build their reputation in a very powerful way. They became admired and even beloved. But then, if we looked a little deeper, if we observed quietly, we might sense that something inside didn't fully sit with them. The energy was not fully focused and there was some restlessness. Now that was not enough to undo all the good, but it was enough to make this person wonder. And that's the nature of a dasha where the D40 is strong, but it's not flawless, right? You can make great progress, you can build something real, you inspire others, but there's a piece of the puzzle, that inner conviction, that still needs a bit more time to mature and become really strong and steady. So yes, Sandasha was a great period, but the best part of the journey might still be ahead, and this is exactly what happened in Moon Dasha. Moon Dasha started at the age of 47 and turned out to be a powerful turning point in this person's life. So let's have a look at the D1 and see what happened. In the D1, the moon is the second lord placed in the 7th house, and this shows a desire to be responsible and committed to build something lasting with others. But the moon is also afflicted by Saturn and Mars, and it gets here some help from Venus, who is in its exaltation sign. Overall, this is a moon that's frustrated and it hasn't quite figured out how to meet its needs and desires. And so from the very start of Moon Dasha, they began feeling restless, unsatisfied, even disconnected from the spiritual community they once devoted themselves to. The ashram life that once seemed like the ultimate calling now felt hollow. And the moon, as it often does, started to reflect what the heart was really missing. Again, let's check the D45 to see how inspired this person truly was during Moon Dasha. Right? The D45 makes the difference between a person who has come into this world to grow, fight the inner demons, and become the best version of themselves, or someone who thinks that other things are more important. Money, power, and sex, that is, all that is needed to be successful. So here let's see about the true motivations of this person in the D45, and let's now analyze Moon Dasha. The moon is the Lagna Lord, and it's in the 8th house of crisis and transformation. Especially in the D45, the 8th house gains greater significance because it is the 12th from the important 9th house. And so that indicates a loss of purpose. This person changed the purpose of their life in Moon Dasha. They left the ashram and the spiritual community that they had been part of for over 2 decades, right? And they did it with great conviction. The moon is manifested by Jupiter, by Mercury, and it is empowered by the Son who is exalted. And they go through this transformation with great clarity, right? This moon here knows what it's doing. It is not escaping, it is simply evolving. And we can also see how their life changed. The first house allowed them to reclaim their identity. The fourth house to find a new home. The seventh house allowed them to get married. And the 10th house gave them an opportunity to build a new career and status. And so this horoscope is a beautiful example of how true spiritual evolution isn't about sticking to a single path, but about listening deeply to your inner voice. And when that voice changes, this person here had the courage to adjust and continue on their soul path, right? In Moon Dasha, this person didn't lose their higher path by leaving the spiritual community that they devoted themselves for over 2 decades as a leader, but they evolved and grew into something more pristine and blissful, just the way that we should aim to find our personal path leading to greater character, success, and a brighter light that we share with the world.